just a little bit about your like real estate journey and why on earth you do real estate?
Yeah, so my name is Dean Arrigoni. I live in California, Los Angeles area, Ventura County, and I started investing in real estate basically for time freedom. I wanted to stop trading my time for money. And so I started looking at all the different options for investing, reading books, looking at blogs, stuff like that. And I settled on real estate.
Yeah, that's a great thing to do. I love my time as well, or the abundance that I have now.
For sure.
I actually just got back from camping, so I was like out of pocket for a little bit, and it was so nice to not be tied to a phone,
Yeah.
and know that my business wasn't like burned to the ground while I was away.
Yeah, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so when did you get started in real estate? Like, what kind of your time frame, and if you could walk us through your first
Yeah.
deal? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was basically a 3-year time frame. I think I started I knew I wanted to start investing in real estate. It was about 2016. And then I bought my first property in 2019. So I had like 3 years of analysis paralysis of just reading books, looking at websites, blogs, just really researching the whole game. And I bought my first property in 2019.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you remember the first book you read?
The very first book I read, well, I don't know about a real estate book, sort of, but it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was the book that really got me thinking and got me pointed in the right direction.
I was just curious. So, okay, so what made you make the final leap, I guess?
Gosh, I don't know. There's so many different factors, but just just being fed up with trading my time for money. That's the big thing that really pushed me. And I knew that I didn't want to be stuck in analysis paralysis for forever. And I figured I just got to get this going, and I just got to make the first step. And I know that once I do that, I'll gain the experience. And I needed to just get that firsthand knowledge of actually doing it instead of just reading about it.
Yeah, well, congrats for taking that first step. I know we've talked before, so I know a little bit about your story, and that you're going, you've done it again. So like that's really cool that you finally took the jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now it seems like you're on a roll. So
yeah, hopefully, yeah, we just got to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Do you want to run us through some quick numbers on your first deal? I mean, it can be good or bad. Obviously, like my first deal wasn't my best deal, but I think it's important to share good and bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first deal that I did, I had my realtor bring it to me. It was listed on Hubzu, which is an auction website. And so I knew what my maximum offer was going to be, which was 80,000. I didn't want to spend any more than 80,000 on this property. I think it was originally the starting bid was somewhere around 40,000. This is in Pittsburgh.
How did you come up with your max offer?
I had looked at, along with my realtor, I had looked at the work that needed to be done. He was actually able to go there, and there was a lockbox on the property. He was able to contact the listing realtor and get inside. And so he went around and took pictures and kind of gave me a rough idea of what the property needed. And then based on the pictures, and also he took a complete video of everything.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. And so I was able to kind of look, and I don't have, most contracting expertise, but I do know a little bit about, certain things and, the type of work that it was going to need. So I set a rough estimate of what I thought it was going to cost. I thought it was going to be around a $30,000 rehab. We ended up going over that, but I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so with Hubzu, I knew I didn't want to spend more than 80,000. and so there's a buyer's premium, which was 5% with that website. And so I set my max, including that, I set my max bid to be 77,000, around, yeah, about 77,000. And so the day of the auction, it ended up getting bid up all the way to basically right below my max. And so I ended up getting the property for 79,800.
All right.
Yeah.
You sound like you're on The Price is Right. 79,800.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these are the numbers. So
Yeah.
yeah, I ended up rehabbing it. The total rehab, it was $42,000. So I went over. It needed quite a bit of work. It hadn't been lived in for a while, and then I ended up. It was a duplex. I ended up.
That's awesome though. Duplex.
Yeah.
Ooh, score.
Yeah, it was cool. It had split electricity, and I wanted to split the gas. So I put another gas meter on, dealing with the utility company. That was definitely an experience and took a lot longer than I had expected. So $42,000 for the total rehab, and then I had about $4,600 in holding costs.
Okay.
And
then what did you sell it for?
So I kept it as a rental. I haven't sold it. So I ended up getting renters in there. It's the bottom unit rented for $750 a month and the upper unit for $950 a month. So $1,700 a month total. And then I got it, I refinanced it. Right. So after the rehab, the after repair value, it appraised at $172,000. Which is right around where I had expected it to based on the comps in the area. But it's also hard trying to comp small multifamily properties, especially in an area like Pittsburgh where there's a lot of older properties. But the comps actually came in kind of where we had expected it to. So that was great. And I was all in at that point with purchase price and rehab holding costs for $130,000. I was able to pull out $120,000. Yeah, and there were $4,800 of closing costs on the back end of that. So I ended up having to pay off because I used a home equity line of credit on my personal residence to fund all this. So that $130,000 was from a home that I wanted to pay off with the cash out refinance. Mm-hmm. And so I had to bring $14,000 to the closing table to actually completely pay that off. So that's basically what we went over.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. So it sounds like you only actually came in with $14,000 total of your own personal money because the rest was HELOC or like leverage, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
your ROI is pretty crazy because you pulled out like 120. Is that what you said on your refi?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Worked out pretty well. So I mean, if you look at it, I brought $14,000 to buy a $172,000 property, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's exceptional. Yeah, congrats. So a couple of follow-up questions. I did hear in your story that because I was going to ask where you're buying these properties, and you said Pittsburgh, so that's cool. What age was this building?
The building was built in 1900.
1900, yeah, it comes with its own slew of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool.
That's Pittsburgh. So they have a lot older properties, and that's just kind of, you expect a little bit more rehab, but it's a really cool city with a lot of old buildings.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so the other thing I was going to ask you, so this is a little different. So I often buy properties on auction.com, but most of the time they don't have a listing agent. So that sounded a little unique to me. Is that common for Hubzu or what you've seen? Or yeah,
I'm not sure. This was my first deal on Hubzu that I did. I haven't done another one off of that website since. And I know that just hearing from other people's experiences with auction websites, that many times they don't get to look at the property or go inside of
Yeah.
it. They kind of have to go over there and look through the windows, things like that.
Absolutely. And
Is
risk
that
a
what
little bit. Yeah. You're like, please, no police.
Yeah, I was real fortunate that there was a listing agent involved, and so my realtor was able to go over there and take a look at the property. And I've never looked at this property. I've done all this remotely. I got a real good relationship with the team on the ground out there, and so just through sending pictures and video, it's worked out really well.
Yeah. So can you do you know how many miles it is from your home? Have you done like the Google map?
It's like a little over 2,000 miles away, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congrats. I'm about the same for my properties. I think that's quite a feat. So congratulations.
Yeah,
I think it's also really good in a way because it makes you be more systematic. Like if it wasn't so far away, I'd probably run over there and paint. So I'm kind of glad that like
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Exactly. It almost forces you to separate yourself a little bit and think more as an investment with setting up your systems and processes, as opposed to, oh, let me just go over there and get that done. And that would be the complete opposite of why I got into investing in the first place, because
absolutely.
now I'm spending more time going and doing things.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad I have that barrier because otherwise, I'd be working in my business or working for it, and not, trying to like kind of be the vision. So yeah. Anyway, all right, well, cool. So we talked about the first deal. That's great. What's your least favorite part of real estate investing?
The least favorite has got to be unexpected expenses.
Yeah.
I can't say that's fun for anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
When something happens, when you go over budget with something, or there's some, an unexpected repair, that's definitely like my least favorite thing. But it's really not too bad. I guess that's true with anything.
So I'm curious, for me, I've gone over budget, of course. So I do a 10% cost overrun. So let's say I have a property and I think it's going to be a $20,000 renovation. I'll do 10% more as cost overrun. So that would be $2,000. So now I'm estimating 22,000. Have you done something similar, or what have you done to kind of mitigate that always happens?
Yeah, and that's a great idea, and I love that system of having 10% cost overrun for that. I definitely leave a cushion. I don't have a system for actually creating that cushion. I like your idea. I might steal that, but it always seems to run over, and so I do build in a cushion. And even with the unexpected expenses, many times it does fall within that cushion. So as hard as it is, it's like, okay, at least I budgeted for this.
Right. Yeah. And with auctions, a lot of times too, you're buying it so cheap, there's usually a little bit of a cushion there. So yeah, I understand, but cool. Let's see. So yeah, and that's great. I actually hadn't thought about what my least favorite part is. Probably running the books sometimes, because it just like with the receipts, I'm like, oh my God. But now I have someone that does that, so it's great. But yeah, the receipts are pretty crazy. I'm like, oh my God, especially when you're running multiple projects, you're like, what is this one for again? I don't know.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, so what was the first real estate acronym that you're like, say what?
I know there's so many of them.
Yeah.
I think the first one that really threw me for a loop was DSCR, for debt service coverage ratio.
That's a good one.
I saw that. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, debt service coverage ratio. Well, first of all, what is debt service? I mean,
debt service coverage ratio. In essence, it's a ratio that compares a loan applicant's net income to their debt service obligation during a set period of time. Here's an example. If a business generates $500,000 in net operating income and the annual debt service is $400,000, the debt service coverage ratio would be 1.25. Again, that's $500,000 in net operating income divided by $400,000 in debt service, and that gets you a 1.25 DSCR. In other words, for every $1 of debt service, the business will have 1.25 available to pay it to determine
debt service. So then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, it's just a fancy word for mortgage payments,
Right.
And so when you get into the commercial real estate realm or just start even reading about it, there's so many different terms, and I feel like they can easily be related or broken down into something a lot easier. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, debt service is just mortgage payments. And then, looking at what that is even further, basically just how many times does the income of the property cover the mortgage payments? And that's a factor that banks look at. And I was, pretty excited to learn about it, just because I feel like it's just another built-in way to make sure that you're getting a good deal.
Right. Yeah. And it sounds like, at least on your first deal, you were trying to do the refinance. So that's extremely imperative that you know that debt service.
Yeah, totally.
Coverage ratio. So that's cool. So I know whenever I first started investing, the general rule was it needed to be 1.2 or higher. And for everyone out there that doesn't know, it's net operating income divided by your annual debt service. So sometimes people get caught up on like, oh, my mortgage payment is XYZ per month. It's annual. So, and it's not, if you have an escrow account that's like, throwing in your taxes and insurance, take that out. It's just your principal and interest payments, right?
Yes.
And so times that by 12, you want your annual. And then usually if you're doing well, it'll be over 1.2. I don't know if they've changed things due to COVID. Sometimes they make it a little bit harder when lending is tight, but do you know if they've changed anything about that?
I know every lender is different. I've realized. So yeah, you really got to just call around and talk to each lender and figure out what their specific requirements are.
Mm-hmm.
I know with COVID, a lot of lenders have tightened up some lending restrictions and things. So.
Right. Okay. Well, cool. So that's a really good one. I hadn't thought of that one. Mine was a cap rate. And I had been investing for a little bit before I learned what cap rate was. So I was just like, because my main thing was I'm worried about cash flow. And so I was like, hey, this thing's like putting $500 in my pocket at the end of the day, every month. Like, that's good, but I remember my partner's sister is in the Bay and I was from Arkansas, and she was like, well, what's your cap rate? And I'm like, huh? Like, let me Google that. Like, what is a cap rate? And then I like had my spreadsheet and I was like, oh, okay. It's like 10%. She's like, whoa. So, yeah. So that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about like a setback or a difficult time in your investment journey.
Yeah. So just this last year, I was trying to refinance my primary residence while also trying to purchase an investment property. And so that kind of definitely, those two don't go very well together, because I'm trying to get the best refinance, that I can on my personal property. And I own, they don't want to see you purchasing anything during that process. But here I've got this great deal that I want to get, and I already had it under contract. And so, I luckily worked with the seller, and I was able to delay the closing a little bit. They were pretty understanding, so that worked out well. But it was definitely, a setback as far as trying to, maintain a good relationship with the seller and not lose the deal, and then also trying to, refinance my primary residence and get the best deal there. So
how long did you have to extend, and then what was your total closing time on that deal?
It actually, I only expected to extend it a couple of weeks. It ended up extending about a month on that end, before they got everything wrapped up with the refinance on my primary residence. With COVID, I think, and everybody, or with the low interest rates, just in general, I think the lenders were just hammered with people refinancing, and so things took really long. I think they're still taking a lot longer.
I'm running into the same issue still. Yeah.
Yeah. And so on top of that, as soon as I closed with the refinance and I talked to my my mortgage broker in Pittsburgh, I said, okay, let's get this done and let's purchase this investment property. The commercial lender that I was using actually said, oh, wait, at the last minute, we've changed our standards and we're no longer lending to out-of-state investors. So that's like, okay, great. Where do we go from here? And actually, but luckily, we were able to find another lender. The mortgage broker was really good with that. But it extended the whole deal. So we didn't close for, a whole nother month after that.
What do you think attributed to your successful closing? Like, did you have a really great agent that was able to piece it together? Like, how did you calm down the seller? Because that sounds really tense.
That was definitely all my agent. He was really great. Shout out to Adam Gleave in Pittsburgh. He was awesome. Talking with the listing agent, and they seemed to have a good relationship. I definitely didn't want to put him in a position where it was ruining his reputation. But luckily everything worked out, and I was really cool during it. He was really cool during it. Relationships are definitely something that you don't want to mess with, but it all worked out.
Did you offer any extra money or have to do anything like that? Or you were just like, I'm trying my best, it's COVID, sorry.
Actually, the seller did ask for more of an earnest money deposit, which I gladly sent. And I just, I thought that was totally acceptable, because they were having to wait. I know they wanted to close before the end of the year. It didn't happen. But I was more than happy to do that to show that I was a serious buyer.
Absolutely. That's a great way to do that. So if you don't mind my asking, so what was the initial earnest money deposit, or percentage is fine too, versus the increase?
Yeah, the initial was $1,000, and then the increase was they wanted $5,000.
Okay, that's totally reasonable. And then what was the purchase price of this deal anyway?
I got it for $177,500.
Okay, gotcha. So just trying to keep in mind like where we are on the $1,000 was low anyway. So of course, yeah, take 5,000. That's fine. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. And I apologize, but there is a recycling truck right now. So if you hear that in the background, let me know. I'm going to try to keep muting, but just letting you know.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So what's your favorite part of real estate investing?
My favorite part is the problem solving aspect of it. I like to think through problems and come up with unique ways to fix problems. And so, there's so many different problems you can solve with real estate. Looking at a property and figuring out, okay, how can I, increase the income on this property? How can I increase the value? That's my favorite aspect of it.
Yeah, I love that process too. I'm naturally creative, I guess. I don't know if you do art of any sort, but like I love to make music, and I find that even with real estate, like there's a very creative aspect on trying to solve the problem often, and so it's fun to like even go hike. I'm just like running numbers, like okay, how can I do this? How can I do that? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's the best part. I love that. Just sitting down and really just trying to think and figure it out.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. It's like a Rubik's Cube or something.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then so as 2020 was interesting to say the least, can you tell us a little bit about? I know you kind of touched on a little bit of COVID issues, but it sounds like there was a longer closing than usual. But did you run into anything else that you can share?
Yeah, with COVID, I know the first thing that I think everyone was worried about is the tenants being able to pay rent if they were affected by not being able to work and things like that. I use a property manager, so I reached out to the property manager that I use and wanted to see if any of our tenants, I only had two at the time in the duplex, had said anything about having a hardship or anything, so I could be prepared for that and then try to work through it. At first, there seemed to be no issues, and then one of the tenants ended up having some problems not being able to pay the full amount of rent, and so we worked through it. We basically just said, yeah, pay what you can at this time, and then afterwards we'll make up a payment schedule to make up that rent once you get back on your feet. I don't want to kick anybody out of the house, out of their homes or anything. And especially even we couldn't even if we wanted to with the eviction moratorium. So the best thing I think was to just, really work through the problem with the people again, trying to work through problems and come up with solutions is something I enjoy. So, just trying to do that. The tenant ended up making up her payments, later in the year when they got back up on their feet. So that worked out well.
Yeah, I'm curious. So what did your payment plan look like? I ran into the same issues. I think we did 6 months for like $25 more a month, and they're all paid up now, so it's all fine. But
yeah, it was very similar to that. It was, she was able to actually, dump certain, a couple $100s at a time back into it, and she ended up actually, I think, paying every 2 weeks instead of monthly, which I think was better for that tenant at the time. But it helped them catch up on payments a lot quicker.
right. And then, so did you add like an addendum to your lease, or how did you work out the paperwork? Was that complex? What did that look like?
I didn't do anything on my end. The property, this is why I pay the property manager. So I think, whatever they did, I'm not sure about it, but I just know that the back rent was coming into my account.
Gotcha. So for me, my property manager too, it was just a 1-page form, just an addendum to the lease that we both signed to make sure that, if things went wrong, I could collect if needed. Not that I would, but like to make sure there's a paper trail.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for my memory. Sometimes I forget what happened. So it's good for me to look back and be like, oh yeah, their payment plan's done this month. Okay, let me change that. And another thing that I did is I always have little tasks of things to do. So I actually had them take pictures of the outside because I hadn't seen it in a while. I do live over 2,000 miles away from my investment properties. And I noticed like, okay, the handrail needs to be painted. The trim needs to be painted. Little paint jobs are pretty easy. Almost anyone can do them. So yeah, I paid her like 15, 16 bucks an hour to do that. It took like 3 hours and everybody was happy.
And you paid your tenant to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And then that way it's kind of like a pride of ownership as well. I also tried to get her boyfriend, tried to hire him to do some insulation, but that didn't work out. But yeah, I'm always thinking of like little tasks that are easy enough. And it was fun because she got to choose the paint. I don't really care that much as long as it's like, not lime green or something. Like I was down.
That's a great out of the box solution. I love that.
Yeah. And like minimum wage in Arkansas is like $7.25. So I was just like, let me double it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right. So
yeah, that's great.
All right, let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. So what would you say to an aspiring real estate investor?
The biggest thing that I think helps you along the way is consistently analyzing properties. Just getting in that mindset of, what is a good deal, what looks like a good deal. And so when when you see a good deal, you can immediately recognize it. You can run those numbers real fast and make an offer on it. But other than that, actually, the number one thing I think is to build a positive network around yourself of like-minded people that help push you in the right direction. There's so much, I think, negativity and people who can, suck your energy away or tell you that it's never going to work out. But building the right group of people around you, I think, is really important, because I think that's the number one thing that's going to make you successful and keep you going in the right direction to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. There are, or at least in my experience, I had a lot of naysayers around me, and it was not good for my mental stamina, I guess. But
Yeah,
thank goodness I'm super stubborn. So I was like, no, this will work.
yeah. And look at you now. I mean, it did.
Yeah. All right. And then any books or websites you'd recommend to new people starting out?
Um, I can't go without saying the Bigger Pockets website, and the forums. If that's a really great resource, especially if you have questions. I'm sure it's been answered on those forums already, and so just by searching the forums and looking through threads, and there's some really good topics and answers on there. One of the very first books that I read in real estate was Crushing It in Apartments and Commercial Real Estate by Brian Murray.
That's a great book.
That was a great book. It laid out so many different things, and it's not just about commercial real estate and apartments. I feel like so much of that can be, you can use it for single family or anything like that. It was just a really great book that explained everything really well. And then he's got like a story about one of his properties and investments throughout the book that really keeps you engaged and wants you to keep reading. So I recommend that.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, that one was really cool, because I was actually going to say, yeah, I remember, like, I've read so many real estate books. They usually focus on like numbers or like how to get the deal or whatever. But this one was really cool because he really walked you from the moment he laid eyes on the property, and he's like dealing with like, drug abuse and like all this stuff. So yeah, it was very engaging, because you're like, wow, he really went for it. Like, I think he even had an office in the building, like crazy.
Yeah, he moved his office to go like 100% all in on this.
Yeah, building. I was like, he's out of his mind. Yeah, so great book. I definitely recommend that as well. So that's cool. All right. Well, that's all I've got. Would you like to add anything else? Of course, shout out all your Instagram stuff and anyone else you want to shout out. And then also email me at the end. If you can email me, like, the people you want to shout out, we'll put it in the comments. But also if you'll write, sorry, I'm blanking right now. If you'll send us some pictures of your deals, because that's always fun. We can throw it in as B-roll and stuff. So.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, just thanks for having me and setting up this interview. It's been great. Always great talking to you.
Yeah.
And as far as you can find me on Instagram, Dean Does Deals. That's me. And shout outs would be my realtor Adam Gleave, and then he's part of the Tony and Gotti team. Tony was the first guy that I reached out to, and then I ended up dealing with a member of his team, but I still talk to Tony. We're friends. And Adam Gleave is the realtor that I work with now, who's awesome. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, thanks. And likewise, thank you for agreeing to do this. Hopefully it was painless. And anyway, I look forward to sending you this stuff. And if you'll any renovation photos you've got too. People love before and after. So whatever you got,
Yeah.
send it our way,
Yeah,
please.
we'll send it over.
All right. Thanks, Dean. Have a great rest of your day. And
Yeah, thanks. You
again.
too.
All right.
All right.
Bye.